Welcome back, everyone, to this Forge College Explainer. Okay, let's jump straight in. We're currently working through the testing and verification of composable systems module within our Solidity and Ethereum Quest track. Now, if you remember our last lesson, prioritizing risks and recommendations, we took a really hard look at the interaction surfaces of our smart contracts. We mapped out exactly where things could, go horribly wrong. But here's the thing, just knowing where the risks are, that's really only half the battle. Today, we actually have to test those dangerous interactions, and we need to do it without completely losing our minds in the process. So we're going to learn how to mock contract dependencies to build tests that are basically rock solid.
So here is our game plan for today. First, we'll look at unpredictable partner contracts. Then we'll enter the mock contract. Third, we'll talk about wiring up your stunt double. Fourth, we get to simulate some on-chain chaos. And finally, we'll wrap up with assertions and next steps.
All right, let's kick things off with Section 1, Unpredictable Partner Contracts.
Okay, I want you to imagine you're directing a massive blockbuster movie. Your smart contract, that's your lead actor. Totally reliable, hits all their marks, remembers every single line. But your contract doesn't act in a vacuum, right? It has to interact with external partner contracts. And in this analogy, those external contracts are basically massive Hollywood divas. They are wildly unpredictable, they throw tantrums, they change their minds on a whim, and they will absolutely ruin a perfectly good take. I mean, I'm sure you've been there, staring at your terminal, just pulling your hair out, wondering why on earth your integration tests are suddenly failing. The test suite passed fine yesterday, you didn't touch a single line of your own logic, and today, just a sea of red errors. Well, let me validate that pain for you right now. You're actually testing their diva behavior, not your contract's logic. Those failures are almost always coming from the partner contract reverting, sending back malformed data, or running out of gas.
In the engineering world, we have a very specific word for this nightmare, and it's called flakiness. Flakiness is essentially non-deterministic behavior. It's when you feed the exact same inputs into your test, but you get wildly different results just because an external dependency is having a bad day. And that right there is exactly why we have to separate testing our own contract's reactions from testing the partner's unpredictable mood swings. We absolutely need determinism. We need to guarantee that if a test fails, it's actually because our code is broken, not because some external DeFi protocol suddenly decided to pause operations on a testnet.
Which brings us nicely to Section 2, Enter the Mock Contract.
So to get that determinism we're craving, it's time to fire the diva and hire a professional stunt double. In software engineering, this stunt double is what we call a mock contract, and the technique itself is usually called stubbing. A mock is basically this highly predictable, completely controllable substitute that steps right into the shoes of the external contract. You tell it exactly what to do, exactly what to return, and exactly when to fail, and it just follows your directions flawlessly every single time. By swapping out the real dependency for a mock, you are completely isolating your own contract's logic so you can actually test it properly.
Now, what's really interesting here is what a mock isn't. A mock is not some mini implementation of the real contract. It shouldn't have any complex business rules or deep mathematical calculations hidden inside it. It's literally just a controller. You implement the exact same partner interface, sure, but inside those functions, you just wire up some simple toggles for reverting and some setters for deterministic returns. You want a function to return the number 42? You just tell the mock, hey, return 42. You want it to revert with a specific error message? You literally just flip a Boolean switch. It's simple, it's explicit, and you are entirely in control.
Let's move on to Section 3, Wiring Your Stunt Double.
All right, so we've got our stunt double hired. Now we need to get them on set and wire them in. Setting this up requires a pretty specific choreography in your test scripts. You'll usually be doing this in a framework like Hardhat or Foundry. Step 1. You deploy your target contract, plus a fresh, clean instance of the mock contract. Step 2, you wire their addresses together. Basically, you're telling your target contract to talk to the mock's address instead of the real partner. Step 3, you configure the mock and run your specific test scenario. And finally, Step 4, you assert that your target contract handled the outcome exactly the way you designed it to.
Now here is the absolute golden rule to make this substitution seamless. Your target contract must always program against an interface. Let's just call it iPartner.sol. Your target contract should have absolutely zero idea that it's talking to a mock. It just knows it has an address that follows the rules of iPartner. If your target contract is hard-coded to expect the concrete implementation of the real partner, there is no way you'll be able to swap in your mock without rewriting your core code. And honestly, changing your core production code just to make a test work, that's a massive anti-pattern. We definitely want to avoid that.
And that brings up a really important architectural question.
how does your target contract even get that partner address in the first place? Well, you generally have two options. You've got constructor injection, where you pass the address in once during deployment, or setter injection, where you use a function to update the address later on. Now, for production deployments, constructor injection is usually the safer bet because your dependencies remain immutable. But for testing, we highly recommend using a setter. Setter injection makes it incredibly easy to swap out mocks or point to different stunt doubles right in the middle of a test suite, without forcing you to redeploy your main target contract every single time. Okay, on to my favorite part, Section 4, Simulating On-Chain Chaos.
So now we get to the experimental phase. Because we have these simple toggles on our mock, we can map out this beautiful matrix of chaos to simulate vastly different scenarios. We've got our happy path, normal success, where we literally just tell the mock not to revert. Easy. Then we can simulate a total partner meltdown by flipping our set revert switch to true. We can simulate a malformed return by forcing the mock to spit back an extreme value. We can even simulate a massive gas spike by triggering a heavy, useless loop inside the mock. We're basically taking our target contract and putting it through a gauntlet of worst-case scenarios, but we're doing it in a perfectly controlled laboratory.
Let's look a bit closer at that revert scenario. When you configure your mock with set revert true, the very next time your target contract tries to call it, it's going to blow up right in its face. And this is so incredibly valuable. Why? Because it finally proves whether your target's defensive coding actually does its job. If the partner reverts, does your contract just crash and burn with it? Or does it handle the error gracefully? Maybe it executes a safe fallback path, or properly rolls back its own state. You're getting to test your error handling under actual simulated pressure.
But what about when the partner contract doesn't revert, but instead just returns absolute garbage data? Imagine you're calling an external oracle, and it returns a price that is syntactically valid, like it's a valid UN256, but semantically it's totally absurd, like the maximum possible integer value. By using set forced value with an extreme number, we get to test if our contract is naive enough to just blindly accept that data, or if it safely enforces its invariance, clamping the value down, or rejecting the bad data entirely before it can corrupt our internal state.
All right, let's bring it all together in Section 5, Assertions and Next Steps. So we've run our chaos experiments. Now we need to prove our target actually handled it correctly. The beauty of mock-driven tests is that the results give you crystal-clear debugging signals. If the test passes, you have absolute confidence that your target logic is sound and it handled that specific edge case perfectly. But if the test fails, well, you know right away that you weren't fighting a flaky network or a moody external dependency. A failure here means exactly one of three things. Either you have a wiring error in your test script, there's an ABI interface mismatch between your mock and the real partner, or, and this is the big one, you have a genuine logic flaw in your target contract that you need to go fix.
But I need to warn you about a super common trap here. If you start seeing flakiness popping up in your mock tests, it's almost certainly because you forgot to reset your stunt double. Think about it. If test A sets the mock to revert and you forget to reset it before running test B, then test B is going to fail completely unexpectedly. This is what we call shared mutable state. You absolutely must explicitly reset your mock state, or honestly, just deploy a brand new mock instance between every single test scenario. Whatever you do, don't reintroduce flakiness into the exact system you just built to eliminate it.
So, to summarize all of this, if you want truly deterministic tests, you just need to abide by these three guiding principles. Number 1, always program against an interface so your substitution is completely invisible to the target. Number 2, make your mock behaviors explicit and configurable. Remember, they're just simple controllers, not actual business logic. And number 3, when you're writing your assertions, don't just lazily check the final return value. You need to verify the interaction signals. Check that the right events were actually emitted, check your call counts, and make sure your internal state variables changed exactly the way you expected them to.
All right, let's look ahead for a second and see how this all builds into our broader curriculum. You now have this awesome suite of highly controlled, highly predictable mock contracts. Well, in our next lesson, stress testing and verification tools for composable systems, we're going to take these mocks and crank the dial all the way up to 11. We'll use these controlled behaviors to create massive, scaled stress experiments. We're talking repeated interactions, adversarial inputs, resource exhaustion, the whole shebang, just to verify your system's absolute, total resilience.
So I'm going to leave you with a bit of a provocative question to chew on. If your external partner contract completely fails tomorrow on mainnet, is your stunt double ready to prove that you can catch the fall today? Because if you haven't mocked it, you don't really know for sure. Huge thank you for joining me today. This explainer was brought to you by Forge College. If you want to dive deeper into this subject or continue your journey through advanced Web3 topics, be sure to head over to forge.college. Until next time, keep your contracts safe and keep those tests deterministic.